Hi, listener. This is From Ideology to Unity, a spiritual journey where we let go of ego and ideological doctrine in favor of meaning, purpose, and unity as a whole. Today, I'm interviewing Aria Z Young again because I've interviewed her several times already and we've great conversation every time. So this should be a good episode, and I don't even have a plan. So yeah, let's enjoy because I'm sure I will. Hi, Aria. How are you doing anyway?
Hello, I'm doing so wonderful. So wonderful. How are you doing?
Whew, it's been interesting. I don't even know where to start. I've been allowing myself to explore habits that I'd let go of,
Mm.
or it turns out hadn't let go of. I just kind of repressed them. And I don't know if it's the astrology recently, but something has been bringing all that up. Maybe
Hmm.
it's like, was it something to do with Capricorns going on? um, yeah, it's
Yeah.
so like all these things like habits that part of me might judge myself for. I'm like, well, I can't just repress it. So I've got to integrate
Mhm.
it in a healthy way. And how do I do that? And but there's obviously this part of me is just like, am I doing this right? Should I just not be doing this at all?
Mm.
So it's just like, and I'm more aware of my ego, but that's a good thing, I think. Yeah. Like all
Yeah.
this, um, yeah, it's an interesting one because it's the ego is almost in a bit of a mess because it's like, at least the spiritual ego knows that it's full of shit,
Yeah.
basically. And it's like,
Yes.
but it still keeps, I don't know, it's like, it's a mess of contradictions. It's really interesting just to experience living like that, actually. What's it like for
Hmm.
you?
I feel that a lot. And for me, it's been, I guess you could say habits as well, but it's really been around like relationships. I've been going through like a whole rebirth in how I function in relationships because as I'm rebirthing and like expanding in myself and like learning all these new things about myself and allowing myself to fully show up in my full expression, it's shown me so much like what this old version of myself would always do. So I feel that like bringing up of the older like habits and patterns. Like for me, it's been a lot of patterns and like core beliefs that have just been passed down from like my parents and my grandparents. So I'm seeing that kind of play out, and I feel you there
Yeah.
because the
It's
ego, the
ancestral
spiritual ego
energy,
is
isn't it?
watching. Yes, very, very much so. I feel like that's been such a theme like since the end of last year is healing the ancestral energy and like actually healing what is going on within our lineage and deciding, oh, are we going to continue the patterns that our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents have been holding on to, or whether whatever guardians, whoever takes care of us, whatever they pass down, it's like this is the perfect time for us to begin using our awareness to see that and deciding to dissolve it because it's not ours. Like we
Yeah.
don't necessarily have to like work so hard to go through it and stuff like that because it's like
Oh,
it's not yours. It's like a literal choice
but we
in.
chose it though, didn't we? We
Mhm.
chose our parents.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And now it's like our choice to break the patterns and break the chains that
Right.
we didn't create from our own experience.
It's
Because a
our
lot of the time,
choice, not
yeah.
something we have to do. So we need to be all serious about it. Oh yes, I must clear up the energy. It's a
Mhm.
duty.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
because all these things, I think they're just different coping mechanisms
Yes.
and different the trauma and the this we start off, we separate from, but we don't truly separate from unity, from souls, right? But there's a sense in which birth is traumatic. That's something I've talked about a bit in my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a way of coping with that belief in separation from the outset, that it's something wrong with you. And then there's all this like other conditioning and everything, and like
Yeah.
different lineages just deal with it differently. And it's all a mess because it's not a unified, harmonious way of dealing with it,
Yeah.
right? It's like a sacrifice. Something has to be sacrificed when you're in limitation.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. That is so, so true. And like, even, yes, we go through this trauma after birth, right? Where all of a sudden, okay, we're human. We're not water beings anymore, connected purely to source and our mother, earth, and the mother that holds us, right? But we are, as we come out of that, we begin, the only people that we begin seeing are our parents or whoever takes care of us, right?
Yeah.
So they're like our gods and our goddesses. Those are the people that like we look up to, so we don't think that they could do any wrong. So we immediately like bring all of those things upon ourselves, which is so interesting. I found
Or
out.
or we reject it in a way that's also unhealthy. Suppose you've got like
Mm.
parents who go, you've got to do it this way, you know, and then someone might become a teenager and then they're just like, no, no, I'm going to do drugs, all of that stuff, you know. And but that
Mm-hmm.
might also be another aspect of the energy, just a different way
Yes.
of dealing with that energy. So it's
It's
really,
like that growth of that energy, because as a child it's like, this is all we know, we have these beliefs now, and then we start to slightly question them, right? Was we're teenagers and wanting to create our own, but then that still creates like this back and forth energy that we have with our parents.
yeah. Actually, I want to talk about something. I won't go into certain details, but I had last night. I had a weird dream. I trouble sleeping, which is kind of my fault because I, not to judge myself, but I was looking at the screen a bit too soon before going to bed. So I was a bit wired. I didn't go to sleep. That took a while, but when I did, it was like I went to the spirit world or something. And yeah, I didn't know, I didn't realize it until afterwards, but I think it was, I might have encountered my dad, and it might have been, yeah, it was just after it brought up some like pent up negativity. Because obviously
Mm.
it must be hard to be a parent, especially growing up
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
conditioned
There's,
by all the ego and everything, right?
yeah, yeah.
But obviously, if you think everything's perfect and you've got no issues at all with your parents, you're wrong. Even if your parents were wonderful, I'm sure, you know,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
so
And
true. Because
I
I would
just,
look back and I'd be like, my childhood was like, I had everything I needed, everything was fine. But then we go deeper into like how we actually are, and realizing that we truly do model our mom or our dad in some kind of way, or we begin to see that we've been rejecting parts that maybe we should have been keeping from our mom or our dad, or just even our grandparents or whoever was around us during that time. So it's like, yeah, for sure.
mm,
It's very interesting, like what we see that we hold on to when we start this journey, and like those habits that we have. Because for me personally, I realized I was so similar to my mom, and like how I handled being in a relationship and needing validation, and constantly feeling like I had to do something. And this is like also just women in general, feeling like we have to do things and we have to show up so much bigger than anyone else in order to be seen, or that we had to just be of service in order to be seen. We're just even just fearing that our soul expression, just us being who we are, is threatening to people. So those are like things that I could feel was like just within, women in general, but also like has been passed down in my own lineage. And my mom was starting to model it, so I started to model it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is that cycle, that pattern.
Oh, I found it really interesting what you said, because I actually thought about, obviously I relate more to the male experience, at least in this life.
Hmm.
So it's a slight difference perhaps where there is this constant pressure a lot of guys have, or maybe all of us have, that, but it's more competitive. So it's
Mm,
like you need to prove your worth as a man, and or if you're not, you're being looked down on for not fitting in to what our man's meant to be, especially with teenagers,
yeah.
because um, there's, I guess, less questioning. Actually, maybe there is questioning as a teenager, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then, of course, men and women are interacting with these.
These wounds.
Yeah, so it's like the wounded masculine and maybe the wounded feminine too,
Mhm.
interacting in ways that are mutually, at best, codependent, to be honest,
Yeah.
a lot of the time.
Yeah. That's what's
Yeah,
modeled. That's what's really modeled to the us is that codependency. So when people try to, even just within relationships, try to change those aspects, it literally feels like that dark night of the soul, like everything's kind of crashing down. You're like, this doesn't make sense because our mind wants it to be a very specific way that we hear in music and in movies, and we see it modeled by our parents and our friends and how they're going about things. Instead of healing and growing, we choose to stay in these wounded places where our wounds are like interacting with each other and dancing with each other.
yeah.
So it's, but I'm curious, like, I hear this a lot too with the wounded masculine is just like this need to be needed. I'm curious if you've ever like experienced that.
All right, hi viewer, or listener. So basically, there's a technical issue, but we're back online, and I think this was catalyst for us. Well, I don't know about you, but certainly for me. So the question was I going to freak out when there's a technical issue in an
Mm.
interview? And I think I responded well this time, so that's good. Um, yeah, so we're talking about ancestral energy and how men and women have to deal with the different, was it the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine
Yeah,
playing
kind
out.
of like their different kind of wounds and what's been passed down through our own lineages and just like as a collective. And I was wondering, my question before it froze, I was wondering if you'd ever experienced this because I hear this a lot, like with men feeling like they need to be needed. And I'm wondering if this is like more of like a collective thing where they feel like they almost like to like anticipate things or just feel like they have to be doing something and that kind of um says their worth or like makes up their worth. And I feel like I have this too, but I'm
Hmm.
wondering if this is also like a divine masculine type of wound that people
Right.
deal with as well.
I think this is something fundamental, but that it not fundamental to existence, but to egoic. You could
Hmm.
say born in existence. That's a judgment, but yeah. But it plays out differently with the masculine and feminine because you get masculine and feminine to everything, and that would include ego, of course.
Yes.
Um, and it comes from what I learned from Aaron Abgay. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his surname right, but what I've learned from him is that a lot of these, there's a sense of negative self-beliefs that are core to the ego, which is a bunch of negative, it's a bunch of programming that's like Agent Smith in the Matrix. Rather than working
Hmm.
for like the unity as a whole, it's kind of,
It loves the separation. It thrives on it. It like yeah.
yeah, it's like programming that's malfunctioning. But anyway, it's based on one of the first main negative belief of the ego is that it's separation, is that it's incomplete, that there's something wrong with it. Why? Because it's separate on its own with It's the idea that we are our own individual agents with complete autonomy, cut off from the rest of the world, which we are trying to survive in and interact in to try to get what we want. And because that idea would say, well, if that's the case, then we need to maintain a sort of control over the situation, and we're going to be prepared, and we're going to be afraid, and maybe you've got to feel guilty for how we've failed, or so to speak, or how other people might think we've failed. And you've got to keep, you're never good enough. You've always got to do more and be more to be safe from annihilation and despair. All right.
Yeah, and just like not belonging.
Yeah, and obviously that traumatic birth creates a sense of traumatic separation, or an illusion, a traumatic illusion falling under you of separation. Just imagine how wonderful the spirit world is, and suddenly you're like, you come crying into the world, literally. And there's these bright lights and doctors around you. I mean, that must be horrible. So yeah, so
yeah,
I guess that's why we need to prove ourselves, or we think we do, because that justifies the whole programming we have to survive in this world. But we don't need that anymore, right? When we've evolved past it. But evolving past it isn't like, doesn't happen overnight. It's messy.
It's so ingrained in, and that's why we're doing this ancestral work, because that's how far back it's been. Like it's just been a continuous kind of piling on of this idea of who we are and how we are supposed to show up. And and when we start, I feel like what I notice is like when we start to like go on this path of trying to gain that like inner unity within ourselves, and also just in life in general, and finding that balance in our life, we have that part of us, whether it be the ego or any part of us, even just our nervous system, it literally resists so hard. And that's why I just like anyone that's on this journey, no matter who you are, what age you're at, you know, where you're at in your life, it's like you're pushing past resistance every single day. You're facing that resistance every single day until it becomes easier and easier and easier to be in that place. But we're still, as we're still going to be met with these challenges, it's like you got to congratulate yourself for those little things.
Yeah.
Those, yeah, that like you do a little different, or that
Do we
you
always have
achieve.
to? Do we always have to push through the resistance though?
We kind of lean into it. It really depends on the situation, because sometimes resistance can look like this false sense of like fear, right? It tries to stop us from something, or even this resistance, if we feel it, especially within our bodies and within our nervous system. This is something we got to dive into. That's
Yeah,
when we
you don't
start
want to
to
reject it and just be like, no, no, I'm not going to deal with that, because then you're just
you
repressing
got
the
to see it.
resistance, right? But at the same time, if you just overpower it, bulldoze it, like I think Tell Swan talks about bulldozing. If you just bulldoze right over it every single time, then you're denying that resistance as well, because you're saying
Where it comes from.
exactly. So I don't think you meant it that though. It's more like you've got to observe it and you've got to love it, or at least at the very least accept it. I'd be like, and even if you don't know what it is, feel into that. That's what I've been doing a bit more recently, allowing myself to feel into the resistance or fear and the emotions a bit more. But it's
And that's why
difficult.
I say, yeah, it is.
But it's also
It's
easy.
scary. It's scary, but it does get easier. And that's why I say, like, because when we start to be like, oh, the resistance there, I'm just gonna do it anyway, but not really know why it's there. Like, sure, you could take that approach, but that's like going over it or under it. That's like going around it. That's why I say like going through it, where you can be in it and feel it fully, so that it
Oh,
can start to like heal it as you're
I,
just going past.
sorry, I had this mental image that came to mind and it's just perfect. So you could go one way round. You know, you could be up or down, but let's say one way round, or you could go the other way round. or you could go both way rounds and hug it, embrace it.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot.
So it's like, it's non-duality. It's transcending that separation, but it's also like all huggy and stuff. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
like bringing those two sides together. Those two aspects of how you could look at resistance and bring it like, oh, take that compassion, but also take the firmness of being like, hey, guess what? I can move past this. Like, I don't need you anymore, technically, and like bring those together. I like that. I like that a lot.
it might just melt away into light, and
Mm-hmm.
then I don't know. It's interesting. I'm reminded again of what Teal Swan talks about. I don't know if you follow her at all, but she talks about parts work and every different parts of our. It's about how the ego fragments, basically. That's my
Mm.
interpretation. And we've got different parts of ourselves that are trying to cope with different strategies at the same time, and they're like sub personalities almost.
Mm.
And like one part of us is like, oh, we've got to always just hustle and push ourselves to do loads of hard work, but we don't like it, and we're just going to do it no matter how we feel. The other part is like, no, let's not do any of that because it's horrible, right?
Yeah.
And that's one example. And there's lots of different opposites that you need to unify,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be an obstacle, or it could be like not fuel, but like if it's integrated, you actually accelerate in your evolution. Don't
Yeah.
all the things that are blocking us are opportunities for ascending,
Yes.
right?
Everything. Everything is. I love and that's funny you say that because I just got a text from a friend and she was like, oh, instead of saying she was like having throat problems, she was like, they're throat opportunities because these challenges, they're all opportunities. So yeah, it's true. Like when we start to it's literally just shifting our perspective from the place of like, oh, I'm so split, instead being like, oh, I can actually see what's going on. Like I'm actually aware that there's like a split within me. How can you use that to your advantage to accelerate, to begin moving forward, to begin
Yeah,
growing? And that's that switch that we start to
awareness.
learn. Yeah, that
Once
awareness. It's
it
like
clicks,
sure
you don't
habit.
lose that light. That light of awareness
Yeah.
is like, oh, right. And even if you go back to like how you're previously doing it, like there's always this, yeah, but you remember like this, and you're like, oh yeah, and like it grows
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah, it's
darkness
that
is
reflection.
in the light.
Mm. Yeah.
So I guess it's like it's the easing open the door, right? And then more and more light shines through.
And you
Yeah,
got to be willing to do the work that comes with it, you know?
yeah, like taking
It's
away the
like we can,
obstacles on the door that kind of that you got
yeah.
like these things blocking you from opening the door. If you just force your way open, like it's like, yeah, won't work.
Yeah, yeah. Um and it's really it's just it's so beautiful because it's like yeah, you can have that awareness, but it's like what are you going to do with it? And I feel like a lot of people get stuck there. They're like, okay, I know what's going on, and then they don't trust themselves enough to take their own wisdom to be able to move through things or to take the
Mm.
time that it needs, you know, and just like honoring that this isn't an overnight thing, which is why it's so important for us to remember that like you do know yourself. If you sit down and be still and silent and just like grow your awareness, like you do know what you want, you do know yourself, and we just have, like you said, we have those little fragments, those little parts of us that are going in different directions and saying do this, do that, do all this other stuff. But we can draw like this wisdom of okay, what do I do with this within ourselves? And it literally, and this is the thing that might be scary for people, like when they're on this spiritual path of like self-realization, maybe scary for them to realize that oh, I literally need to just be with myself to find out how to get through this. in my way. Like, we have all these
Yeah.
tools, take it. But at the end of the day, all of these tools are just showing you what you've already had inside, what the wisdom that you already have within you.
Yeah, we're already that presence. It's like it's already there. It's always
Mhm.
there. It's you. And you've
Yeah.
just got all this stuff blocking. It's like you've got dirty windows, the light's not shining in.
Yeah.
But it's not really shining in, it's more like shining out. Wait, in is out, right?
It is,
So,
well, I'm trying to like imagine it now.
okay, there's another way. Imagine a bowl that's really
Hmm.
dirty and hardly any light comes out,
Hmm.
right? But if you clean that bowl, more light will shine forth, out.
Yeah.
And everyone like flounder around in the darkness trying to just get stuff done or whatever. When they could, if you look within, clean up inwards, like um you
And
realize,
it's
wait a minute, that light I've been looking for out there isn't here.
mm-hmm. It's literally like when you think of the bowl, like once you start like figuring out, oh, this cloth I already have, I just take it from my clothes and wipe it off or whatever, and that
Yeah.
the light that shines into yourself that is coming from inside of you shines out. It's literally just reflected outwards.
It's like looking for your sunglasses while wearing
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. It's true. It's like when it clicks, it's like, oh, okay. And when you get to experience it and or even just reflect on times that you have experienced this um, awakening and this moment of clarity within yourself where you've actually taken something within yourself and healed it and then experience that outside of yourself. You know, you experience that healed part that's a part of you. Like, we can reflect back and remember those times where it's like, oh yeah, I just kind of said, okay, this is how I am, but this is how I choose to be. And and see how that
them. Yeah.
changes. And it's like remembering that it works, that you can continue doing this. Um, and just not giving up that fact that you have that power. Can I feel like this year has been really testing a lot of people in actually tapping into their own love and their own power in the biggest and deepest way. I feel like every energy reading that I've been doing, I've been getting very similar cards that like come out, and it's all about like going into love and into spirit and deepening this connection on like a whole nother level. And I said this on my Instagram too,
Yeah.
because it was like the door to romance and the door to spirit. And these two, when we bring them together, which I've had come out like 3 months in a row, it's really showing us that we are going past even just the vibration of the word unconditional love, like the type of love that we're cultivating on this deeper level is so much more than that. And it's hard
Mm.
to fathom it with the mind, but it's literally just asking us to say, hey, you can literally feel this within yourself, and you can feel this with me, with source, with the universe, with whatever you believe is our
Yeah.
creator. And like creating that kind of closing the gap almost on what you think is possible and how you need to be doing things. And it's like when you literally create this union with your heart and your inner source with source itself, it's like that's the type of love that's gonna just like you said with the bowl, it's just gonna shine out when you start like doing
Into
that
your
little
external
hug around.
experience,
Yeah. And
which
that's like
means,
been the key is that
yeah,
like
so all that
love.
romance you're looking for externally, love yourself and like you'll be trying to keep your partners away from you, potentially the suitors, what we're coming right to you, the
Yeah.
ones you want as well.
Mm-hmm. It's powerful. It's like that. It's really just trying to, I feel like it's trying to get us to this place where we no longer follow those old programs of
Mm.
codependency. And we start reshaping how relationships are meant to be, and like all relationships, like with our parents, with our friends, siblings, coworkers, romantic partners, like whoever it is. It's like this, and that is all tied to also our ancestral wounds and patterns and just our soul contracts that we have. So it really is, it's like, oh yeah, self-love, self-love, but like source, when I channel it through, it's like, no, it's so much more. It's you remembering that this source, this greater power is always holding you, and that you can be held there and begin to play within that space of just being held by this greater source, or just being held by Mother Earth, and beginning and using that to your advantage to create a safe container to begin diving deeper into, okay, what does love look like? What does it mean like to me? What do I actually desire in my life? Like, how can I create boundaries for myself to continue being exactly who I am? And it's just this natural dissolving, because the planet already accelerated to where she needs to be right now. It's just a matter of us keeping up our own frequency to this place. We're not even rising anymore. We're just trying to maintain. And that maintenance is literally just allowing us to dissolve those old programs. But it's been bringing everything up, like you said in the beginning.
Yeah, so Gaia has expanded in a sense,
Mhm.
and we can expand to meet that new space.
Yes.
And also, like, we've been contracting ourselves unnaturally anyway. And
Yeah.
like, oh, what's the other thing that came to me when you was talking? Like, it was just, you're in a flow, and I didn't want to interrupt that. But it's just the idea that I really enjoy your videos and the sense of warmth and love. But I realized, obviously, that's actually, I mean, it is coming from you, but it's also like I'm feeling that within, right? And it's a catalyst for me to see it within.
That you have that. It's
Yeah,
alive.
I am that.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that reflection. Yeah, and that's the medicine, is to realize that, oh, I don't need to get this from someone else. If you're feeling it inside of you, you self-sourced it, you know? Like, even if we get energy healings or anything, it's all coming from you. It's aspects of you doing this,
You
even
can learn
though
Reiki
someone's being a catalyst.
or where it's Reiki or whatever. Energy healing is something
Hmm.
I think we're coming to a point where anyone can potentially do. And it's just simply a matter of like visualizing the chakras and opening up, like just feeling into it and visualizing it. Now, I don't
Yeah.
even, just from having, you know, got a Reiki practitioner to help me, you're not passively sitting there. You are an active, they're just helping, facilitating you doing it, right? Which
They're
means,
holding the space.
which means we can all heal ourselves.
Yep.
And then there's stuff like, oh, I forgot the guy's name. He's on Gaia.com. He talks about how we can physically heal our injuries and stuff.
Mm.
Do you know the guy's name? I've gone blank right now.
I haven't watched Gaia in a little bit.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe you'll know who it is, but I'm meant to not remember right now, because otherwise,
I like that.
yeah, otherwise I must remember that thing. Otherwise, everything's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't move on with my life until
The
that's a
interview is
real thing.
over if I don't remember.
It's real.
I mean,
It's
I think
real.
it's this thing to say, and like we're talking, I'm like, what am I going to ask next? What is this thing I've got to say? No,
Mm.
that's actually something I've observed in myself a little bit. So, yeah.
Congratulations on that
And this is
observation.
just an example. I'm not like boasting. Actually, maybe our spiritual ego is boasting on some level. But like,
Celebration.
yeah,
I think it's
because
important.
what the point is that it's easier than we realize. We're just doing it the hard way. And if you just realize, okay, there's a shortcut, um, you're going to take it, right? But you're not aware of it.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, I mean, we could, and it literally, it comes back to, okay, yeah, this does need to come from within, which is why it's so beautiful when we do watch people or listen to people that they'll just say one thing and it's like, oh, okay, thanks, you know, but it's like our choice. Like when that fully resonates and we can feel it inside of ourselves, it's like, now what are you going to do with that? Are you going to use that to assist you in taking that shortcut? Because they are available, they are fully available, and we can make things as complicated as we want, but we're only making the simple complicated to be understood by the logical mind because of the reality that we live in.
Mm.
As souls, as energy, everything's really simple. But we have all of these laws that we need to obey living here on earth, living here as human beings in this more 3D reality. It's like, okay, it is a little bit more complicated, but when we start, and people have done this, like just rewiring yourself and getting used to specific frequencies or ways of being or patterns, or just beliefs that are more true to your soul and your source self, your purpose, your mission here, your full expression, like that's when everything just is magic. And
Yeah, rewiring yourself
you don't
is,
notice it happens because it's like a plant. You don't see
yeah,
it growing.
also rewiring yourself. It's like, there is this wiring as like train tracks, right? But there's all this mess of train tracks going in the long way round and like, and that sort of thing. And like rewiring ourselves to just be more harmonious and make the whole network that is our mind just harmonious, I suppose. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's all about the mental rewiring our consciousness so that we're not tripping over ourselves.
Yeah.
You know
It's
that meme
returning to
of
that
that
natural
bicycle and
source.
this guy puts this thing in it and it's sort of, they fall off.
No, I don't think I've seen
They put this
it.
thing in the wheel and then they just, it's almost like that's what the ego is.
They're like,
And
wait,
then just,
stop. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And what's oh, I think I forgot what I was gonna say. That's okay. Oh, about rewiring, like we can get really focused, especially when we're doing a lot of like work on beliefs and habits and patterns and stuff like that, and we can forget that this wiring is connected to the whole of our bodies, that we have, yes, if everything is energy, then your gut is energy, your heart is energy, your arms, your legs, everything is energy, your brain is energy. So you have this like ability to assist yourself even deeper when you actually utilize what you have here in this 3D reality. And a lot of people can get really really airy about things and like not really wanting to like ground things in, but it's like, no, you could literally go so far and so fast if you literally just use the tool of your body. If you literally just allowed yourself to realize that, just like the vagus nerve, like that's connected throughout the body, that's connected to the gut. So, and that's connected to your mood, and that's, it just assists us in accelerating the process of rewiring and being, having the energy and having the will to do things within our reality. So it's like, yes, we want to rewire these beliefs, but to assist that process, you need to engage in understanding within your entire being. Because if
And
we just work with
acceptance.
yes, if we just
Yeah,
work with
because our
energy, it's
body is
like,
like, if we're trying to escape our body because we're actually afraid and we've got insecurities that we're not dealing with, and we're like, oh, but spirituality will get me away from all this stuff. Like,
mm.
then like, that's not accepting your body. If you don't accept your body, how do you expect to transcend it?
And what's the point? You're here on earth for a reason. Like your soul
Yeah.
came here to assist in healing humanity.
Yeah. Well,
You're a
some people are like,
human.
oh my God, it's a prison planet. We need to escape, blah, blah, blah. That's so negative about it. And honestly, Gnostics are kind of, Gnosticism comes off a little bit like that. It's just this idea that everything's on earth is completely wrong. And it's more like it's just wounded.
Yeah.
And I prefer the healing paradigm so much more. Because otherwise you're just rejecting, you're not accepting what is.
Yeah, and it creates the separation. Like when you start to become a lot more aware, it can be really scary because you're able to see all that is wrong. But it's that choice to be like, okay, can it be healed, or are you just meant to force things? But we can start taking those older programs from, not really being in the spiritual realm and just being more on autopilot. We could take those programs into our spirituality and be like, no, you're doing this wrong. I need to force you to be like this or else. We can really make this like absolute way of going about things, and we do it out of fear because we're
Yeah.
scared of,
How can
oh,
we
I can't live in this reality. Doesn't make
yeah.
sense.
Whereas we can transform these toxic or detrimental or whatever wounded egoic aspects of ourselves into something that's beaming with light and serves us. It's not like, oh, just purge it from our system, this evil toxicity. No, it's like help your inner child, or let's say, and that's any aspect of yourself that is wounded, like just help it heal, accept it, and then it will be like part of your team.
Yeah. Yeah, like why are we trying to push away the ego? We can let it be part of our team. Like we can let our
Yeah,
inner child, all
but in a
aspects
way,
of
it wouldn't really be
ourselves.
the ego anymore. I mean, it would
No.
exist, but it would just be us. I mean, it is in a
Yeah.
way, but the way I see it, it's kind of like, and it relates to tarot a little bit as well. Like, the cups in tarot.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah,
like there's
I'm
this
familiar.
life energy, almost like prana or something. And like the
Mm-hmm.
ego is like you keep pouring it into these other cups. And then you're saying, oh, that cup's me, that cup's me, that cup's me. And these other cups are identity. These little cups that are just sort of, and then so your cup feels strained and you wonder why. I'm like, yeah, it's because I haven't poured enough into these other cups. Or other people are
Mm.
taking away my water. Like,
Mm. Yeah. And it's like, it's almost realizing that like all those cups also are a part of like, actually someone I was talking to today, she showed me this image of like, you may have seen it, like the bucket, and about like stress and everything, and kind of like the waterways, and the pipes and everything. Like we have all our own like little pipe systems, and they all get poured into our bucket, and we can create the holes in the bottom, or you can even think of it as a pot, and like you have to create the holes in the bottom to let some of the water out. But we don't want it to be filled up all the way, or else we're in this place where we have no more room, like we're at overwhelm. um and it's almost like you have to, especially with like the way that we have to live, like you have to be able to create those holes within your life to let go of the stress and let go of, um and almost like practices like mindfulness or meditation or whatever, you know what I mean? Like those could be the holes, those little practices, those little things that we do to release the stress, because it's like, and it was interesting what she was saying. She was like, well, we can get so stress is like not really even the word, because we can get in this place where we send an email and we're just low key stressed about, having a response. Like the stress levels, it's so much more than just like coming to this like high place of overwhelm. It can be a really kind of silent but deadly part of us that we're
it's
ignoring.
it's being a tryhard at being.
Yeah, we don't even realize we're doing it. It's
Like,
crazy. I like that,
I mean,
being a
if someone's
tryhard.
stressed, for example, they might be striding around using a lot of energy, and they might actually be tiring themselves out more by how they're acting. But it's a reflection. It's like a physical reflection of what stress is. Stress is actually just it's like not being present. It's like it's the physical, it's what separation feels like, I
Yeah.
guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's like a more subtle way of separation within ourselves. And like so many people handle it in so many different ways. And I feel like it's
Your
so
body,
common.
your body's telling
Yeah.
you this is hurting. Please imagine a parent is leading their child somewhere because they've got something to go to, and they're clasping the hand really tight, and a mother and child will be, please loosen up. It hurts. Your
Hmm.
body is telling you that you're hurting.
Yeah. And that's like almost the last stage of it too. Because that stress will get in your energy field first before it gets all the way. And when your body starts showing signs, like you've been holding on to it for a long time. And that's like when we can start using more of our awareness in creating more, I guess, balance within our lives where we can begin to detect, okay, what can is causing me stress and how can I actually just prevent it, even just not even thinking that stress is in your field anymore, but how can you begin moving from that sympathetic to the parasympathetic? And that's the whole frequency of this new earth that they're calling, and this golden
Yeah.
age is being in that parasympathetic where we can rest and digest and we can live happily within that, um, and have that equal balance. But yeah, I think I
In the
kind of
body.
lost my train of thought. Yeah, in
Well,
the
what
body,
it
but
reminds me
also
of is
the
we're
energy.
meant to live to 1,000. In Atlantis,
Mm,
people lived a long time. And
yeah,
the reason we're not is because of all that, whether you call it karma or stress or whatever you call it, like, yeah, like we've got a natural healing mechanism. And also, if love is light, right, and well, light is eternal. Where was I going with this? I had it. Love and light are like one. So like, yeah, I lost it. Something about loving yourself eternally because light is eternal or something like that.
yeah.
But
But even
yeah.
like light, and this is when you can get like a little bit more specific. Like if you think about light, like what happens when you're in this deep state
Oh,
of
oh,
darkness? Like does it still exist? But it's like yes. But go ahead. You were gonna say something.
yeah. It's actually love is life, right? And it's love
Yeah.
is life, and love is eternal, unconditional, everywhere, all the time. That means we dying is like, yeah, maybe we don't. This degradation of the body doesn't naturally happen because life, like love, is eternal in truth. I mean, nature all keeps going on, doesn't it? It goes through
Yeah.
cycles, but it keeps going on. And maybe we would choose to end our incarnation. When we're in fourth density, maybe we'll just choose to end an incarnation at some point because we feel like it's time and we're ready. It
Yeah.
would be like we're forced by fate somehow.
Yeah. We take control. We're able to, especially when we're able to begin tapping into that love that's within ourselves that literally heals. We have that choice whether we can stay or whether we go. I mean,
To
whether we're far off from that or not. It's
I've got the tune in
possible
my
and
head.
it's eternal. What is it?
Do I stay or do I go?
Do I stay or do I go?
Both,
Yeah.
maybe. That's non-duality. I don't know. Understand that, but
Yeah. So interesting. There's so much. There could be so many layers to it, but it always just comes down to you being able to continue to remember and to continue to choose that which you are, to just simply be, and to say that, okay, me being in this state of, whether you're in grief or shame or guilt, like in these, quote unquote lower vibrations that really are just masks for us needing something, or feeling like we've been, feeling like that things are not eternal, that things end,
And
we
also,
can
like,
come
we
back
don't
to
really
like the
die.
core.
We
Yeah,
don't
no.
truly die because we are the conscious I am that observes everything, right? And we know we're worthy of that. That's what we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your life just continues when this body, you just exchange, you lose this body, you don't really lose it, but yeah, I mean, you just go to the spirit world and you carry on, and then you go back into another life, and it just keeps on happening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
were to tell someone who's suicidal, you'll just continue, it'll just keep going forever. It'll never stop. So there's no point. I don't think that would help, but at the same time, it is true. But
It defeats the purpose of our journey here, I feel like, because what we're here to do, we're just given opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to heal fragments of our soul, to find that wholeness again. That's why we continue to reincarnate, to live out and begin to heal, but we have to make that choice. Like, yes, we have our own, you can believe in destiny or fate or whatever, but you still have that choice whether or not to continue to heal what needs to be healed. And that's why we have quote unquote challenges, opportunities to do that. So when we complete a pattern, right, we complete something that we're meant to learn, something that is meant to assist us in expanding as a soul, and even just with our soulmates around the planet and whoever we interact with, like even just you and me, like this is a part of our journey, is to share this, is to have these conversations, because it's meant to hit people, it's meant to hit each other, and that's a part of this like, I was almost gonna say whirlpool, but it is kind of like a part of this continuation of this expansion of our soul. And at some point, when we feel like, okay, like I feel so healed, like you're able to really just fully understand all of this fear and all of the love, and begin to have this compassion for so many different people. You do have that choice. Like, you don't necessarily need to incarnate as a human being anymore. You could be something completely different. You could be going somewhere else. So it's like, we're here, yes, to serve others, but we're also here to serve like the greater whole of our soul, the greater whole of just bringing all these fragments of what's become fragments over all this time back into unity.
they're one and the same. If you were to choose
Yeah.
either one of those, you get the same result and
Yeah.
same process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because really, it's about the process, isn't it? The journey. Because I
It
mean,
is.
it never really ends. I mean, I don't know. You could speculate about when we eventually go right up to source and we all integrate together. Like, but would that be an end? Probably not. It's probably just goes on forever. And
Yeah. Like, we just don't know. We just don't know. So we do the best we can
what I've
with what
learned
we
recently is
have.
that being itself is the greatest mystery of all. And like in the Ra material, Ra says that they still have no idea. They have no idea what they are. Well, what is being? No idea. No idea. It's just like we learn more, but we also learn more about how the more we learn about ourselves, the more we learn about how we don't know ourselves or something.
Mm.
But that itself is a knowing, but it's a knowing that isn't known. It's hard to say, because there's a sense of there's knowledge that you gather in your life, all this stuff you accumulate, and then there's a knowing that's way more subtle. And it's like, is it knowing in the opposite direction? It's unknowing what you're not ever more, to hone in more and more in a passive sense to who you really are.
Yeah.
But you don't
like
learn who you were, you unlearn what you're not until there's nothing left but you. Maybe?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that resonates. That resonates. Cuz even as you're being, like we have this consistent evolution. So it's like your being is continuing to expand and continuing to change, and like us here and now, it's like no, I don't when you finally like know yourself, you're going to be met with a new version of yourself, you know, like you're going to change again and again and again. So and that's more on like, you know,
That's why
this
it
kind
never
of life's
ends.
perspective. Yeah.
Because that oneness, that once you discard all the other stuff that isn't you, but also is you,
Mm-hmm.
like when you repeat the cycle, you are not the same you when you completed, when you unified completely before. That's why are you aware of the law of one, where you get the density, 7 densities, but you also get
Yes.
octaves that are like the same thing on a higher level, and you get
Yeah.
densities within densities, and it goes infinity. So it's sort of like every octave is like a cycle.
Mm.
This is, we get loads of little cycles. Unlike, it's a really interesting idea that we complete after all the universe is complete and everything's completely brought back again. All that, everything that's a learn and unlearn, etc., which they're opposites, so they're one. Like everything is just like, all right, let's repeat it, except it's different.
Yeah.
And then any scale you look at, it's the same as above, so below, right?
Yeah. It's mind blowing, but it's also like, yep, there you go. That's it. It's that simple. But yeah, yeah, I fully resonate with that. It's incredible to it'll confuse your mind so much if you let it. But honestly, it really is just that one, and we're consistently just deepening. Like we could think of it like, oh, I'm ascending, whatever. Yeah, right. Well, what's actually happening is that you're taking this outward and just going fully in and deeper and deeper and deeper. Because once you think that you've mastered something, like, no, you haven't mastered it. You're
You're
just
going
going to the
deeper
next level.
within,
You're going a little deeper. Yeah,
but you're
you're going
blossoming
deeper.
further out at the same time. You are
Mm-hmm.
expanding, and yet you're looking to do it.
Yeah.
That's amazing in itself. That the opposites are the same, I guess.
Yeah. And our language, honestly, is probably limited to be able to give this, but I hope people feel the energy of it.
Yeah, another image I got. Now, there's polarity, right? There's duality, is there's one side and the other. The polarity is like a scale from one end to the other. But what if you get both sides of this line and you rotate them around in a circle? Then you get infinity.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Wow, I like that image. I like that a lot.
I don't know. It might be one of those clear, I don't know, sentience. I don't know, one of those things. The thing is, I'm not special. We all have the potential to do this in various different ways, to receive input from source in one way or the other. It's like we've got all these abilities, and they're not superpowers. It's more like we've been underpowered for so long, we've forgotten.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've literally forgotten.
But it's
That's
okay.
why, yeah, and it's okay. It's like it's happened, and you have to kind of accept that it's happened.
There's an anime actually where there's this character who called Rock Lee who has all of these leg weights on, and they're really heavy. And he takes them off, and he's just suddenly really fast. And that's what Catalyst and is all about. Now, it's interesting because on the hero's journey, I don't know if you've heard of it, there's a cycle in any story, right? And if you know, life is like a story anyway. There's a middle point where like it's the darkest dark, like the dark night of the soul, right? In their life, there's lots of cycles, but the life is a cycle. But yeah, there's this, it could say people talk about the midlife crisis, right? But they let go of something and they get something new, and they realize something about reality, or they get this new gift, or this like given to them or something, right? And then suddenly like things get better again, and then now this triumph at the end. David Wilcott talks about there's a 24,000 year cycle. The cycles on bigger and bigger scales. And now what happened 12,000 years ago? In the middle of that cycle, the fall of Atlantis. Right? So even that is just part of a larger cycle where we're growing from. So I don't know. I don't feel like it went wrong when Atlantis fell. I don't think it's really a problem. It's all, even falling into ego and coming out again, it's like we're growing so much from all this.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. Yeah, I like how you said that a lot. It's like nothing has gone wrong, and we could look at ourselves in those moments where we fall into things, fall into old patterns, whatever it may be. We're like, oh, I failed. I did something wrong. Like, no, this is literally another one of those opportunities
Of course.
to grow, to
Yeah,
expand.
you know, I have this habit sometimes where I like to go really super intellectual and abstract, right? I'm like, oh yes, there's this concept and that concept is like this huge scale. And you're like, you immediately took that and you made it an everyday life thing that we can do that's helpful.
Yeah. High five.
Yeah.
Teamwork. I love it. I love it. I love our conversation so much, honestly. And I love listening to that aspect, where it's like on a larger scale and it's more intellectual, and it's like it's also science based too, and it's like having all these perspectives is so, it's so eye opening, to be able to just keep those, like to realize that your life is just like a part of it, like it's one and the same, like it still works the same way, and you have the same power that space does, and the energies, like everything that goes on in the entire universe, you have that same power, because we're literally just part of it.
So did you actually have you seen my episodes about quantum physics while I'm doing the reading?
I haven't, but now I really want to.
I don't know. Not many people have actually. I don't know what. I haven't really got much feedback on it. I'm really happy with it, but then I would be, right? I think my spiritual ego liked it too, because it was like, see, I've got proof. See, atheism. It's like, take that, atheism. Do you know this whole thing? But on another level, it is great to really be fusing science and spirituality in a way that actually does both justice.
Yeah. I mean, we all have it. Everything's here for a reason, We can begin to restructure it or change our perspective on something. It can be a tool.
I'm wondering though, it is a bit, because of the subject matter, it's a bit heavy going, but I think I try to the author I'm reading tries to take a step by step through it. And it doesn't like throw loads of equations at you. There's a section where it does, but even that, it's not too bad. It's just an appendix. And then like I go through it in my intuitive way. So yeah, anyone who doesn't listen to it, I would recommend it. And I'd like to know have feedback about that too. So
Yeah.
there you go,
I definitely want to
self-promoting.
check them out. I've been noticing, I've been seeing how just going on, because I'll follow you on YouTube, and you can totally see like the shift in the growth that you're going through as you're continuing to do this work. So thank you. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Well, have you seen the have you explored tarot much?
Um, I like receiving it. It's not something that calls to me. That I feel like I need to learn or teach.
You do like language, right? You it's a way of accessing, or it's a conduit, or almost like a language for communicating with source, or just an aspect of source, whatever that aspect is. And like, or your higher self, whatever. And you can do that for light language, and that's great. You can also do it through tarot. And it's like, and the law of one, they talk about tarot. Tarot originates apparently from Venus. It's a Venusian thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I was hearing that
but
too.
maybe it comes from earlier than that. I don't know. It might be the Palladians might do tarot for all I know, or something like it. It's really interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
like symbolism, okay, if everything's a story, right? Or a game, everything's like this play that we're co-collaborating writing, right? Well, in our lives, then symbolism is really important to stories,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the symbols in tarot and other things, they're fundamentally the language encoded into our reality. That's what I love about
Yes.
tarot.
Yeah. And light language is symbols too. Like
Yeah, yeah,
we have logos or symbols. Like we literally know what a logo is, or like a symbol that we're used to seeing, whether it's on the TV, and we have an initial vibrational reaction to it. So, and it's cool how tarot can be used in that ways of like just like you could have one symbol and it can mean so many different things. It's not necessarily tied to one thing. And I really like light language because it's like if you have any light codes or anything like that, it's going to serve you differently in every present moment because it's a literal present moment type activation and code for the soul that is seeing it specifically. So it's just so cool. It's so
yeah.
magical.
It is. I can't. I wonder what it's like to experience doing it, because hearing it is wonderful. And pretty much every time I've heard it by someone online or whatever, it's just been like a wonderful experience. And like, but doing it, what's it like?
It's different than receiving it because if I do it for anyone, or even if I just do it for myself, it's literally like, for me personally, like you feel an opening in your heart, you feel grounded, but you're like completely just letting yourself flow with whatever energies, whatever sounds. Like you're not thinking about anything necessarily, you're fully conscious and doing it, but you don't necessarily like feel like some people feel like the chills, or they'll feel certain things within their body or their energy, or like an emotion comes up. Like you don't necessarily have all of that happening. That's why I like to watch things back that I do, um, because this feeling, it's more like, oh, this is this passionate feeling for me, where it's like I'm in my soul purpose. Like that's what it feels like. Like I get, I'm just so filled up and like so full, and I'm in this place of like overflow. That's what it feels like. I'm just
You're just
overflowing with
shining forth
force.
light. And I really get that impression. It's just,
Literally.
and it's,
Yeah.
I was about to say it's not yours, it's also coming from source, but then we are source. So it is and it isn't.
Yeah.
Um,
It comes from like different aspects of your soul as well. And it's like you can literally feel especially with the hands and stuff like that, you literally feel energy moving. Like you're just following the flow of energy
When I
with your body.
gesticulate, am I doing that? Because when I talk, when I do a readings, I'm just gesticulating. I wonder, like that might
It
be
can
like
be.
a
It
primordial light language.
Yeah, it definitely can be. It's a little different. It feels like a little
It's a link
different.
to
Like even
Qigong,
um it can be just less structured. I love
right?
qigong. It's the best thing. If anyone's Tai Chi, qigong, go try it a couple times. It's the simplest,
Yeah, I've
most
definitely considered
powerful
it
thing.
recently. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so good. So
But
good.
if obviously you combine it with things like Reiki, if you combine all these things together, that would be just amazing. Or you don't have to, but it's just like, okay, you can do Qigong, but if you haven't opened your heart, like maybe it won't be so effective or something. But if you do Reiki, open on yourself, open your heart, throw in light language and everything together, I don't know, like
It's like a
you have
powerful
these,
personal practice.
I don't know, like it's imagine like tarot cards with light language on that are used for Reiki and Qigong. I don't know. I like
I think
combining things.
yeah, and I do that. Like to combine things within my own personal practice. When you think of like tarot and Reiki, like they have such ancient backgrounds that it's like, especially with Reiki, like you have to really honor the way that it's done. But at the same time, it's like when you yourself are tapping into your own soul source, your inner source here, and just in your own personal practice, you could be doing some yoga, doing some qigong, doing whatever kind of movement, and you start to feel yourself like literally doing this motion of energy, actually moving energy throughout your body, which we all can do. Like every single person on this planet can do this when they allow themselves to be fully present with the energies. Like,
Was that like the
and
infinity symbol?
uh yeah. I mean, they're not really crossing, but
Oh, I suppose.
yeah, but like overall, like that's what I do. Like I bring, whenever I want to bring a little light language in, or whenever it comes in, it'll come in during any part of my practice through meditation. Like you can combine all of these on your own, and that's what light language does, is like it brings upon all aspects of your soul which have this wisdom to actually shift through and heal and bring up exactly what you need in that moment. So it's like you tapping into your inner wisdom by allowing yourself to just express and move the way that you need to move in that moment without like needing to, when you're in a place where you don't necessarily need to be instructed to do anything. It's literally
How do
just
you prepare for
flow.
it?
Me, I literally just I sit and center myself. I ground down. Like I intentionally ground down, and I used to like say a little prayer, but now I just kind of drop into my heart and I breathe. And that's it. Like that's where it's come for me. But at first I wanted to say like a little prayer to really just connect with source, and whether it be like my guides or my ancestors of the highest light and the purest light, right? To just be here with me if I was really trying to invoke this light language or whatever expression, song, whatever it would be to come out. Like that's kind of how I would do it. But now it's just become so much more simple, where I just need to tap into my heart and just be open to be, to kind of be, to be me, right? Quote unquote me, but also just oneness. And I almost say nothing, but I want to say oneness, because it's like I'm fully conscious of what's going on, and I just explore the energies and what wants to come through by allowing whatever's in the heart to reach past my throat. So, and it's like you have to get past any kind of resistance and be like, okay, um, like F this, I'm just gonna let it come out and see what happens.
Right. You mentioned
Yeah.
dropping into the heart, and it's fantastic that you're able to just do it like that. Um, and I was wondering, like, obviously inner work helps us drop into it easier, but like, are there any ways to ease into your heart, even if you've got like blockages or darkness shrouded around it, like start in a more work to do.
Yeah.
What helps?
Yeah, so it's really creating a solid relationship with your heart. That was something that I really had to do, and it doesn't just mean like self-love, but like this awareness of what it feels like and what's going on in that space, your heart space, right? And you can it's it involves the mental, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual. So when we can start to, and I would just always tell people, like every day when you wake up, place your hands on your heart and just breathe and like create that connection. Notice what's real, like what's really real, what's really you in those moments where you're feeling those blockages, the resistance, when you're feeling these things come up, like tapping into that deeper oneness within yourself by just connecting with your heart, because that's when we can just start getting out of the mind, because those blockages and everything, the mind makes all of that up. So if we can just get down out of there and begin to heal that, um, and begin to see it for what it is and allow it to be released or integrated within us, we begin to heal that relationship with our heart and giving us a safe space. This heart is this portal, right? And it's able to create this safe space to actually say, okay, let's just see what comes out of my mouth. Let's see what comes out of my hands, my body, this art that I'm creating that is expression, but also communication and information and vibration that is meant to just be my soul, me, source. And I actually, I don't know if you know this, but I next week I'm doing a 8-week course with my friend Esther Joy, and we're doing all of this work in the course of 8 weeks and traveling down the chakras to assist people in creating that safe container and dropping into their heart. So we're going to be exploring all of that, and I'm so excited.
I might do it. Yeah, sounds
Check it
good.
out. It's on my website. It's on my website. It's like it's a live thing, and we do it every Saturday every week, and we have some bonus things here and there. It's really fascinating because we'll be able to like explore light language a little bit more and just explore like what being a channel is, what being just this channel for source, because we all really are when we tap into like our energy bodies, but we can utilize this to integrate it within us to make it that simple for us to shift through what we need to shift through and expand and create that trust within ourselves. Because it's like we can start thinking all of these things and all of these rules, but like you said, it's like, how do you get past that and just to be safe in your heart? And yeah, super excited to dive into that in like, yes, next week. But yeah, yeah.
So I had this idea and I tried it and I felt a little bit of a shift or something. While you're talking a couple of minutes ago, actually, it was so you can mentally visualize feeling a finger, and you might feel a slight tingling there if you really feel that, and then you might feel a different finger and you feel different parts of your body. But if you do it with your heart, you could sometimes I do it by third eye and actually feel a tingling here. But if you do it with your heart, really feel into your heart, whether it's your chakra or just feel into your heart center and allow it to, like a flower opening its petals. Just don't try to make it do it. Just visualize it opening up and like feel it. And I don't know, this is actually kind of new to me because a lot of the time I'm just in my head. That's our bit. Because I get so there was this sort of escapism in exploring concepts for me.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah. See what happens if you just feel into it, and your consciousness will be there. And Ari, it seems like you've done something very much similar from how you're nodding.
Yeah. Definitely. It's Well, my whole journey has all been up here, all been up in my head. Um, when I started to feel the effects of being and living from that space of the heart, while maybe I'm not as like quick to, quick to get everything, but I'm quick to process what is a part of my own soul mission and my own soul journey. So it definitely really begins to anchor in a lot more of that self-love, like in a much easier way. At least what I've been feeling since just really like tapping into this area. And it gives you the sense of groundedness too, which I feel like all of us could use. um, Even if we're not like around nature, like it really does give you this sense of groundedness, because it's that complete zero point between the stars and the earth. Like that's us, and that's our portal of our heart. Super super powerful stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a great conversation. And I just had a thought, and if you don't want to do it, it's fine. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I was like, what if we finished off with Aria doing light language? How do you feel about that?
We could do it. We could do it. We just drink some water. So, for everyone listening or watching, to receive light language, you just simply gotta breathe and just set the intention to receive whatever is meant for you, with the knowing that you don't have to understand it, because it's not meant to be understood, it's meant to be felt. And it's always your choice whether or not you want to receive as well. Nasi. Dakutati Shatiandi Baru Baru Tasi Tasi Hatukana Yasa Shitus Satus 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 Atiana kia laku shatayan ma'ualahya shatayatakian takian takian tatishian taku satatian wa barashian wa satian hu wasatian nasya wasian nasya wasayatis hu wasian nasya wasian nasya tia sikiam tatialahya yatakian wa satya syukuan tasya. Just deep breaths. Nakiata Sua, thank you so much for taking a moment to receive, to center in, to be. Know that with light language, which I also just like to call our soul resonance, this expression of soul resonance, what arises for you, whether it comes so fast or so slow or is dragged out or just makes sense without the use of words or whatever it may be, whether it be information or just a feeling or something that awoken within you, it's completely perfect for you. Completely perfect for you. So thank you, Nicholas, for having me and allowing me to share that.
Yeah, it was. I had a great time, and I'm sure they'll feel those vibes too. I'm saying they. You know, you're listening. So yeah. So well, if you like this, feel free to subscribe to her, and if you haven't subscribed to me, well, it's up to you. You don't have to. But yeah,
You should.
you must.
You should, if you're here this long. Come on. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So feel those vibes from that lovely light language, and have a great day or have a great evening. So listener, without further ado, bye for now.